Check, check. Okay, guys, so once you're up and running with your computer and your headphones and your DAW, your DAW likely came with sounds that you can use. And if you started on the 30-day power production course yet, if you have, that's fine. If not yet, that's okay. But you might think about, especially since you're just starting out, getting a subscription to a site like Splice.com or the many other competitors to Splice. Even as a professional producer, especially since I more or less stay in my lane of electronic music, I have found that their plan of, I think, $7.99 a month was more than enough. And I'm looking here to see where the heck their plans are, and I just don't see it. But you can probably run around on here and find it. Yeah, I think it was like $7.99 a month, and what they give you is credits. And when you see a sample on their site that you like, it will tell you how many credits that sample will cost you. So as you can imagine, things that aren't very popular or are maybe common or not in high demand are either free or will cost you 1 credit. Other sounds that are maybe from a bigger artist or whatever you want to say, more popular, arguably higher quality, maybe not, or just of a certain characteristic or sound, might cost you 2 or 3 credits or tokens, however you want to phrase it. But this is a good way to build your library. But here's the thing that I want to caution you with these sites. They're all membership based. So there's a delicate balance between you as a beginner and these membership sites. And what I mean by that is there's no reason for you to continue a membership years and years of downloading hundreds and hundreds of samples, especially if you only make, say, dubstep or, say, trance or rock. Now, if you're a general producer, a ghost producer, you probably need to have a pretty wide spectrum of sounds and a pretty colorful palette as far as options go. Totally different argument, totally different situation. But if you're just making house music and it's been a year, you more or less have enough sounds to last you. Here's the thing, though. Here's the difference maker. Do you have the sounds that you want that are going to carve out your sound? How much you want to obsess over that or how little is completely up to you. And as a beginner, that question is sort of unfair because it's hard to know if you have the sounds you want to carve out your specific sound in your tracks because you're new and you're still learning and you're still understanding what you like and you're still understanding what works on a loud and large sound system versus laptop speakers. Like I talked about the processor in video 1, the cost of this course right here, the answer to that versus what sounds good on laptop speakers and large sound systems, you know, clubs, nightclubs, it's a sample that sounds good on both, or a combination of samples that make one sound that sound good on both. In a day and age of streaming, you cannot have, or you shouldn't, I would say, have music that doesn't translate very well on earbuds or phones. Mostly what I'm talking about is deep bass. It's not to say that you shouldn't have deep bass in your music, but just make sure that the sounds and the samples you're picking are kind of going to eventually, whether through the use of stacking samples or mixing, translate on both earbuds from through Spotify or a loud, late Saturday night sound system at a major nightclub. But so the key thing here, get yourself a membership. It's like $7.99 a month. and have fun downloading. But I caution you, at least in my school of thought, my music academy, I would not keep the membership ongoing for years and get more addicted and obsessed with the idea of downloading samples than the idea of actually getting down to work with making music. So pick a handful of kicks that you love, a handful of claps, a handful of snares, hi-hats, ride cymbals, crashes, bass lines, lead lines, whatever, and use those in your productions. That's your sound. Having hundreds and thousands of samples, it's not a bad thing, but it's not a real good way to settle on your sound. You probably need to listen and possibly use hundreds and thousands of samples to figure out what your sound is. It took me a decade. But as you do figure it out, and through my academy, I'm going to shave about 8 years off of your learning experience from my decade. You can tighten up as you start to know what your sound is. I personally do not have any subscriptions anymore. I don't need them. I have my sound for now. I'm extremely happy with it. The market responds to it very positively. So what do I need another kick drum for? Or another 10,000 claps? And after a while, you get paralysis by analysis. Remember that back hard drive, that closet hard drive I talked about that holds your pictures and your samples and all that? The reason why those hard drives are usually a lot bigger than your boot drive is because of the unnecessary downloading of samples that you have. And, it's a fine line, and you're going to have to strike your own balance, because I understand that you're going to need to use a lot of different samples to figure out what you like. But try to look yourself in the mirror every once in a while and catch yourself, and understand that at some point you need to close down the membership and just get to work on finding your sound. If you have 100 kicks, reel it in and pick 5 of those that you really like, and get to making an EP or an album, or one single a month for a year. And keep in mind that that's not going to be the be-all, end-all, even if you want it to be. What I mean by that is you're going to change. There's going to be things that change for you, like different genres that come out that attract you. So then you're going to want to download the common samples used in that genre as well, or progress in your genre, like house music. It doesn't sound like it did in the 90s. Now the 90s sound has resurfaced, but all of this is going to have to be factored into your production journey. And just like I said before about you becoming kind of a working IT person for yourself, and a software troubleshooter, if you will, you're going to be somebody that always is a student and always changing your samples. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have every sample under the sun and clog up your hard drive with it. So the reason why I also like Splice, aside from samples, rent-to-own plugins. Back when I first started, if you could not afford a $300 synthesizer, whether it be a physical keyboard that you bought, or what they call a soft synth, something that is intangible, it's just on your screen, $300 for a soft synth on your screen, you were out of luck. Splice, I think, was just about the first to change that and say, well, listen, if you don't have $300, that's cool. Let's charge you $10 a month until you get to $300, and in the meantime, we'll give you the soft synth, and you can use it until you own it. And then after you own it, we stop charging you. So that's pretty cool. For $10 a month, you are working towards paying off whatever synths or plugins that you want, and you don't have to have the full ticket price right off the bat. Super cool. And the nice thing about this too, for people who kind of are thinking along the financial lines, there is no interest on it. Most of the time with things like this in life, if you don't have the full ticket price, they'll let you make payments, but you're going to pay interest on it as well. So at the end of the day, or at the end of the year or whatever, that $300 price tag, if you didn't have the $300, ended up being 360 or 380 because you didn't have the money, so you made payments on it, and then the interest, was built up as well. So they do not do that, which is super cool and super nice. So it's a very nice website to get a ton of samples, get yourself started on some pretty badass plugins and badass soft synths for a marginal fee every single month. They also have a section here with free plugins. So even if you don't have money to buy plugins, first of all, your DAW came with a ton, and really that's all you really need. But if you wanted to look at third-party plugins, which is a fancy way of saying plugins that are made by other people other than Ableton or other than FL Studio, you can. And this isn't the only site that does this. There's a lot of people out there that are software engineers that love audio, and they launch their own website. And they're not real popular to the general public, but in the audio communities, the good ones, the cream rises to the top. And whatever, it's some random guy in Arkansas that just makes killer plugins, and he puts them out for free. And if you want to donate, you can, and if not, you download them for free. And those plugins go viral just like trends or anything else in life. And it's like, whatever you'd want to call it. Pink Elephant Plugins from Arkansas has a really good compressor, and it's free, so go download it. So things like that happen, and you can take advantage of that as well. But check out Splice. It's a really great starting point. It's cheap, and it gives you a lot of insight into what you'll need in the audio world to get started. But even if you don't want to check out Splice, there's no need to worry, because everything that you got with your DAW plus my 30-day power production course is more than enough to complete tracks and get it going right now. So enjoy, guys. A little food for thought there. I'll talk to you later.